Hi, welcome to Street Sociology. Today, I would like to discuss a term that I feel is very overused at the moment, and not necessarily in a positive way, and that's the word woke. So it'll be an interesting one. All right. So of late, we've increasingly seen this word, especially the last 2 years or so, used as an insult and a perceived threat to society by certain elements of conservative media and politicians. A sort of boogeyman used to influence society away from, let's say, left-wing beliefs. So let's look at the bigger picture. What does the word actually mean, and why are conservative elites telling you to be afraid of it? In short, the dictionary definition of woke is to, in its original form, is to be alert to racial prejudice and discrimination. And that term was coined in the 1930s, so about 90 years ago. It's been around a while, that is to say. Nowadays, it has broadened, according to the Collins Dictionary, to mean someone who is very aware of social and political unfairness. That's literally what woke means. This partly explains why wealthy politicians, especially conservative ones, want you to be afraid of it. Now, if nobody did dislike or fear or discard that term and all the many meanings behind it, or the many perceived meanings behind it, their profits and economic exploitation of us would be at risk. They don't want that. But why is it that this term has only come into mainstream use, specifically in the last 10 years or so? Now, that's simply because, in my view, I may well be wrong, but it's very likely that it came about as it's capable of being applied broadly to any pro-society or pro-civil rights movement and used in order to discredit it. For example, this term featured in an article by conservative United Kingdom tabloid site The Daily Mail last year with the following headline. Quote, UK builders go woke. Woke being written all in caps lock, so you know it's bad. The headline continues, or the byline. Study finds 3/4 of tradesmen discuss their feelings with colleagues, 2/3 shun fried breakfasts, and nearly half say they are history buffs. Now, here's a fun fact for the lovely individual who came up with that hit piece. Here's an actual fact. Suicide rates amongst tradespeople in the United Kingdom have risen for the last 5 consecutive years and are currently about 3 times the national average. That's pretty terrifying, but conservative media, at least in that country, or those countries, and by extension here, want you to think that tradespeople discussing their feelings instead of literally killing themselves is a bad thing now because it's, again, all caps lock, woke to do so. Let's let that thought simmer for a second. That's seen as a bad thing according to these politicians and media outlets. No, not so sure about that, eh? Now, obviously it gets worse because it's the 2020s, and of course it does. So let's take a look at the United States. Now, this particular example I'm about to mention is kind of the reason why I felt the urge to do this video. Because there's a gentleman by the name of Ron DeSantis who is currently in a fight with Donald Trump to become the Republican presidential nominee for US presidential elections next year. And he recently launched his campaign. Okay? And you don't want to know what his campaign is, according to him? His signature policy platform for the future of the United States, according to him, is based upon the concept of a war on woke. The United States presidential candidate described his entire policy platform as declaring open war on those who understand the conceptual background of the word woke. 59% of American citizens, by the way, on average, regard the word woke to mean roughly its original intent, or its basic intent, that is to be aware of the needs and social injustices of others and society in general around us, which, as you probably can gather, is actually a good thing. Well, his policy is to declare war on wokeism in the United States. Specifically, his platform, his signature act is entitled the Stop Woke Act, which, quote, prohibits the promotion or advancement of 8 concepts related to race in the corporate sector training in the United States, schools, colleges, and, worst of all, universities. This is based on an executive order by Donald Trump. Now, I really do have to make this clear. In spite of what some might say about universities and their left-wing bias, which they may or may not have, one thing I did learn is that a surprisingly broad array of topics are up for discussion. You know, an idea, we discussed all manner of topics. You might not like them, but the point of education, especially at university, especially in art and humanities, is that you can discuss ideas. That's very, very much the point. And now, is everything, every concept, every idea that falls under the, again, increasingly broad umbrella of woke inherently good for society? No. Not every idea, even if well-intended, is necessarily good. Okay? I'm not saying that any idea that anybody says is woke is necessarily good because it's that word. But banning and discrediting people from feeling that way or discussing such ideas, especially when these ideas relate specifically to the acknowledgement and prevention of social and, more importantly, political unfairness and injustice, when this is seen as a bad thing and politicians tell you you have to think it's bad, now you need to worry. Declaring war on a group of generally positive ideals designed only to improve society is not a good development. So why did they do it? Why is suddenly a lot of conservative media declaring anything and everything they don't like as woke? Well, they want you to be distracted, and the term woke being used as an umbrella term to describe any sort of social justice policy and therefore telling us to think it's bad. They want to distract us. Rich elites, politicians want you and me to be distracted by, frankly, attacking our own civil rights, dignity of a society. They want us to attack that and ignore the fact that you may or may not have noticed the cost of living inching upwards of late, which you might also have noticed is at the same time as corporate profits have reached record highs in some sectors. But they want you to be distracted by being scared of the term woke or scared of people who are interested in social justice, whether you agree with it or not, because it's a very effective distraction from what they're actually doing right now. Now, please understand, as with every video I've ever made, every comment I've ever made, maybe I'm wrong. I don't want you to watch this video and go, agree with me just because I said it. I'm just a talking face on the internet, in real terms, no better than the Daily Mail or anybody else. I could be lying, I could be exaggerating, I could be fabricating, but that's not really the issue here. The issue here is that take this as an opportunity to think. Think about what the real problems are here. Are the real problems that we might have a more just and equitable society for you and me? Or is the real problem that society is in decay while a very small and select group of people are making mountains of profits out of you and me? Ask yourself, which is the bigger problem? Street sociology.